Since the 90s, Puerto Rico has experienced a public health crisis.
Nueva York.
In 1493, Columbus sails from Spain to Puerto Rico. He met the egalitarian Arawak and the agriculturist chiefdom Taino. As a result, disease, famine, and slavery ravaged their population. In 1895, Cuba was seeking independence from Spain. In 1898, the USS Maine unexplainably sunk. President McKinley wanted to annex Cuba. Additionally, Puerto Rico was considered the perfect spot for a military base. Because of this, in April, the Spanish-American War began. The United States issued a manifesto promising to protect the Puerto Ricans if they supported them during the war. In December 1898, the Treaty of Paris ends the war. As a result, the U.S. gains Puerto Rico, Cuba, and Guam from Spain. The United States devalues the peso, causing everyone to lose 40% of their wealth overnight. The 1900 Foraker Act established a presidentially appointed executive council. The very first civilian governor of Puerto Rico, Charles Herbert Allen, used his brief tenure to become the king of sugar. When he returned to the United States in 1901, he quickly installed himself as the treasurer and then president of the largest sugar refining company in the world, the American Sugar Refining Company. Between the year 1900 and 1952, through low-wage labor, which would be 60 cents per hour in today's currency, and unlimited land to exploit, the U.S. turned Puerto Rico into one big sugar farm. The Jones Act was Section 27 of the Merchant Marine Act of 1920. It had granted U.S. citizenship for Puerto Ricans, but it occurred conveniently during a period of war, allowing the U.S. to draft Puerto Ricans. Additionally, the Merchant Marine Act required that all cargo must be carried on U.S.-made ships and U.S.-manned crews, resulting in higher costs of goods, leading to closure of institutions that support well-being, and therefore increased cases of psychological and physical illness. U.S. medical doctor Cornelius P. Rhodes wrote in a letter, "I have done my best to further the process of extermination by killing off 8 and transplanting cancer into several more." When the media got a hold of this letter, he didn't get fired. Rather, he was the cover of Time magazine for his cancer research. During the 1920s and 1930s, individuals began to strive for Puerto Rican liberation. And that's when charismatic Pedro Albizu Campos comes into the scene. Albizu was the first Puerto Rican to ever attend Harvard University. Additionally, in World War I, Albizu volunteered as a first lieutenant in the U.S. Army. When he returned to law school in 1919, he decided he would dedicate his life to Puerto Rican independence. He formed the Cadets of the Republic, a nationalist group. The 1934 agricultural strike, led by the Nationalist Party, paralyzed the island's sugar economy for a full month, which doubled workers' wages to 12 cents an hour. This, of course, angered the U.S. government, causing stricter regulation by the insular police. Increased tension results in the Rio Piedras murder of 4 nationalists. March 21st, Palm Sunday of 1937, there was a peaceful independence march by the Nationalist Party. Despite obtaining permits, presidentially appointed Jose Tormos Diego and the insular police decided to confiscate it. Unfazed, the nationalists begin their Puerto Rican national anthem until the shots ring out. The Ponce Massacre killed 19, injured many, and no one was held accountable. Between the years 1948 and 1976, Las Carpetas were 1.8 million pages of FBI data on the Nationalist Party. The surveillance was used to imprison people, get them fired, ruin their careers, and terminate their educations. In the 1940s, the U.S. turned the beautiful island of Vieques into a bomb and missile testing ground. This resulted in perchlorate, mercury, lead, napalm, and depleted uranium in the atmosphere. Public Law 362 allowed there to be elections for governor, but the president was still allowed to appoint auditors and justices of the Supreme Court for Puerto Rico. And this leads us to Puerto Rico's first elected governor, Luis Muñoz Marin. And of course the U.S. government had a carpeta on him too. This may explain Marin's shift from nationalism to pro-statehood. The nationalists knew they wouldn't win a war against America, so their goal was to get the United Nations' attention to pressure the United States to give up their colony. Nationalist uprisings occurred in Arecibo, Mayagüez, Ponce, and Naranjito. As the result of a traitor within the party, the police knew they were coming, resulting in a tragic loss. In response to the revolts, the United States government dropped bombs on their own people. Over 400 nationalists were jailed, and many were put in La Princesa. La Princesa was a beautiful Spanish castle turned into a prison known for torture, starvation, and medical experiments by the United States. After the nationalist revolt, Elbizo was taken and tortured with radiation in La Princesa. As a result of the radiation treatment, he suffered a stroke in 1964, paralyzing the right side of his body, and 1 year later he passed away. Earlier within my presentation, I defined the U.S. colonization of Puerto Rico as a socio-structural determinant of health, which is exactly what it is. Let me explain. Colonization results in forced dependency and a lack of self-determination. This results in an inability to respond to a nation's own crises. This model is by design, and it is made to keep territories dependent on the nation with jurisdiction. I began with a quote discussing how Puerto Rico's health crisis began in the 1990s. This is false. It did not begin in the 1990s. It began the second colonization did.